when organized criminals attack herdsmen and their herds and they steal their cows. Sure, you understand now? That is what you call cattle rustling. In that press release of that madman in uniform, right? He said it's a case of Okada man ran into, no, he said it's a case of a cattle rustling, which started like Okada man ran into Fulani this, and they killed they killed the Okada man. And then the Okada man went on to mobilize other people to go and attack Muslims the following morning. Like, did that make any sense? Now, so that they talk in Nigeria. When you ask them questions like, hey, are you trying to, they will say, make them arrest you. If you don't understand what we just told you now, just forget it. Yeah. That's the report from the field. We have arrested the leader of the Fulani extremists. They use the extremist. Extremism. Okay, well, that's the closest they can say. They are terrorists. Terrorists. However, it's all voodoo. Nobody was probably really arrested or displayed, or even if they were displayed, they're just for the camera. Afterward, things go back to what they were. It's not today. They know it. They know nobody trusts them. You don't understand. You cannot trust them. How can you brag that you have arrested over 100,000 terrorists and over 200,000 have surrendered, and the insecurity in the country has gone from, what do you call it, has gone from -2 to over 1,000. What have you today? If you arrested 100,000 criminals in a country who are terrorists, and then you also have about 200,000 of them who surrendered, shouldn't that be like the reduction in the extremism and terrorism? It is the same story about when they tell you that breaking news, Nigerian foreign reserve increased. I say, well, that's a good one. They have saved more money. And then you look at the Naira, I say, why come the Naira not gain any value again? They say, no, it will get there because it's all voodoo. It's all lies, make believe. How could you run a country like that? Call Louis in France to finalize the deal of OPL 245, the oil block that has caused so much wahala since the days of Abacha. I told you that when Tifnumbu and his gang, when they are done with all of you, a lot of you who said that the man will build Lagos, she come and help you build Nigeria. Apart from the fact that the block don't finish, it didn't build any Lagos, right? Now, a lot of you will realize that whatever is the scrap or anything that is left in Nigeria, if they are not, if you are still seeing federal government of Nigeria, federal government, government, this land, federal government, in the next 2, 3, 4 years and 8 years, a lot of them will change names and they will become the properties of Tifnumbu's friends. And what? Anin. Just give it time. Sure, you get. Lagos is not Nigeria. Nigeria is not Lagos. You wait. Una don't give madman cutlass. Sure, you get now. You won't collect the cutlass, Abi. You go see, say, blood go flow. And the blood is already flowing. I'll tell you what they said he is doing in France. But they're already doing the Alagba for him in Nigeria. Because Tifnubu is working hard to make sure that the security, all the people that kidnap people, all those that are killing people, they are all arrested and brought to justice. Listen to this, Agbaya. Somebody, Papa.
Don't need to be on ground to do that. I am very sure whatever the president is doing, wherever he is conducting the business of the Nigerian state, because he is both Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu by identification, by status, wherever it may be geographically. So the president, I mean, former Vice President Atiku's criticism is simply a political show. You know, it's like you need to do that. But for me, it's not profound, it's not fundamental. And I want to appeal, really, to our politicians that when you're going to criticize in context. Let people see substance. That even if you ask people like us, we would objectively be able to say you have done right by even raising these issues.
Well, I don't know if a lot of Nigerians would agree with you. You know, you talked about his comments being political, but the fact remains that people are being kidnapped, people are being killed. These are not political issues, these are real issues. You also talked about something going wrong, you know, and then the criminals striking. So at whose doorstep do we put this blame? What was this administration doing, you know, before something went wrong and then they allowed the criminals to strike? The policies that the president has been taking, are they well thought out? Are they well implemented? Is it people friendly? You know, Joe Ajaero, that's the president of the NLC, he said that heeding the advice of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund has never benefited Nigeria in any way, you know, and is calling for a review of all government policies. Is it possible that we should be looking elsewhere, probably, you know, for a homegrown solution to this domestic crisis we are facing?
You've mixed a lot of dimension into this. Perhaps we look at security and we deliver on it before we get into Joe Ajaero's conception of what is wrong with IMF and World Bank and all that. I am not a World Bank or IMF. I mean, I'm not an IMF fan too, but there are certain issues that need to be concluded and that need to be assessed. For instance, if you're talking about there are kidnappings, there are killings and all that, it's unfortunate. No Nigerian should lose his soul, his life, no matter the situation. But again, don't forget that the Nigerian space is close to 1 million square kilometers, you know, and to that extent, you have this huge space to manage. And once in a while, there will be there would be a slowdown, no matter how efficiently managed the security space is. And I am even impressed that in recent time, a 50 billion naira fund had been approved for what is called known as Praluka. That is the provision by facilitating a non-kinetic mode of engaging the insecurity issues that we have in Nigeria. And that is to say, most of the spaces that we have had killings and kidnappings happening are ungoverned space. So government, by already wants to make its presence felt, you know, by providing social amenities for those communities in those ungoverned spaces. That, to a large extent, would create a manageable space for government, and of course will also help in mobilizing communities in those areas to also collaborate with security agencies. That is an approach. But again, security can never be 100% enforced anywhere in the world. There will always be social miscreants. There will always be criminals that are looking out to exploit opportunities in the space, you know. But the important thing is, in the larger space, what's the percentage of criminality that we are recording? To a large extent, it's not something that we call an epidemic, as some people are trying to say, are trying to put it. It's not an epidemic. But however, let me note that even if one person...
Nuisance lele.
I don't know if it was just me. I was just boiling inside, listening to that Olori Buruku old man. Now, them be that too. Our useless uncles at home. That will what? If they are not using fancy words, word salad, to deflect, to give excuses for the failure of any government they are supporting in Nigeria, then they resort into bullying, okay, gaslighting you, telling you that you have no respect. My blood was boiling listening to him. he called the daily killings of people just little problems. And he said boldly that security can never be 100% in anywhere in the world. Please tell me, if you are watching me from Nigeria, can you tell me how many countries you know that people are being kidnapped and killed every day, like you have been sort of hearing from Nigeria? Not even in Africa, where you also have other terrorists acting. Have you been reading at all, like anywhere where there is a country where this is how they are killing and kidnapping people for ransom? But you see, that man is part of it, and he said Tinubu could, like, you know what I mean, like, is working hard to fix the problem elsewhere when he is not. He also said, let me add the second one before we continue. Àwọn àgbàyà, àwọn àgbà òṣì. And any small thing. Ṣé o lágbà ńlé? Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ nírú àwọn olórí burúkú báyìí àṣà àgbàlagbà ńlé. These are the product of the Nigeria genocidal war. They are the people that are still fighting the genocidal war inside them. This low-life, old, wasted generation, they are those that continue to spread the divisive hatred, tribal hatred, ethnic hatred, because the war, the genocide that they were product of, they are still fighting it in their heads. And to them, if it is not tribal, it is not for them. There's nothing about country to them. They will pretend that it's our country. But they don't care about any country. They don't. So unfortunate, oh. But we are talking about people being killed and kidnapped and all of that. And he even said this is happening in ungoverned places. In Nigeria, he just confirmed, he said there are ungoverned places in Nigeria. And basically, I mean, probably they are telling themselves that everybody can continue to exaggerate. It is not their business to give 100% security. They can't even give you a slight 2% security, something real. And he's talking about 100% security. And those are the people who are sitting in these air-conditioned rooms, deciding and talking and giving opinions at different levels of government, telling you that they are talking and discussing or doing something about your problems. And these are their views. Myopic, short-sighted, and very arrogant and loud. I have never seen a useless generation as some of this generation of people in their 50s and in their 60s. They are so ignorant. At the same time, they are so loud. In their bigotry and short-sightedness, they are so arrogant. We will break you. Let me promise you that. You have been gaslighting people for a while. But because of all of this, we will tell generations, all right, that those of you who abuse the privilege of being Yorubas, the privilege of being elders or older people in Yoruba land, and then mortgaging our future for your selfish interests, we will break you. You will not break us. You saw those bullying? All those show Lagba and Leni. Don't you have respect? Where are your parents? Can you say that to your father? All those nonsense. They will not break us. We will break you with your criminality and your emptiness as well. We will break you. This generation will break you. You can hate us and say all you care about. But by the time we actually mount the number, we will destroy you. People like this.
Hi, Mr. Akinshiju. Fair enough. We hear your explanation.
Okay.
But very briefly, do we not put ourselves at a disadvantage and albeit at a risk as a nation and a people when we don't call a spade? We don't call it like we see it, especially for fear of retribution. It reminds me of the Hans Christian Andersen book, The Emperor's New Clothes, in case you're not aware of what happens there. It's pretty much everyone not wanting to say exactly what's going on for fear of retaliation from the king or the emperor. It seems like we have a similar situation within Nigeria. It seems like, it seems that those who are more astute, the educated class, those who are in the elite positions and in the power positions aren't exactly saying the truth about what it is that is happening, which causes a whole trickle-down effect in terms of perception and how to move the needle forward. Do you see this as a problem?
Well, I do not exactly get the anchor of your submission, because I am here talking as one that follows policies of government and at the federal and the subnational level. And as far as I'm concerned, here we have policies at the federal level over the past 8 months that I believe had potentials to drive development.
Hi, Mr. Akinshiju.
Nuisance, lele.
So he's still very much arrogant. And listen to me, right? I am not using a blanket statement here, okay? So I'm actually using Mr. What do you call it? Akindie. So in Yoruba land, we know that there are very, 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 very intelligent and good people who have advanced in age that completely will never be part of this. Some of them blame themselves that they did not speak out or speak up enough, even though they disagree with a lot of things too. They just minded their business until now that they realize that they could have done more when they were younger too. So therefore, they give their support to the young people who are fighting for our future, the future that these criminals don't care to mortgage. They don't care. So I'm not going to use a blanket. I'm not using a blanket statement on all of you who are in your 50s and your 60s. So I am talking about those, despite you living that long, you've been alive for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. You have seen a lot. And here we are. That some of you still choose to deceive us, to mislead us, to use all kinds of excuses to destroy our future. The future that is being so ruined that a lot of us may never grow old to 50, 60, 70 like you. Young people are being put in a very terrible situation due to all these economic decisions. So when we begin to see those in their 50s and 60s trying to shut down young people who are kind of outspoken and speaking out, encouraging others to add their voice and save their own future, if they can. When we see those of you in your 50s and 60s doing all of this, you don't deserve anything. You deserve destruction, and we will destroy you. You will never really get to us anymore. You get what I mean? It's all those fancy threats that you normally throw around. We are very sure that whatever we are going to become in life, especially young people in Nigeria today, what you are going to be in life is not coming from any of this criminal system that you have in Nigeria. It's not coming from them. Whatever they are teaching you in your schools today, they are lying to you. The only thing you are going to take away from that your school is how to read and write, and maybe how to speak English. Sure, you understand? In fact, all of their policies, for those of you who are still in school watching me right now, all the policies of the criminals in government, they are policies that are going to work against you, against your progress, against your development, against your freedom. I am saying this to you. So if anybody has lived to the ages of a 60, 70, and they are trying to shut us up for calling out these criminals by just, throwing in, don't you have elders at home? You even lack home training. Can you say that to your father? Now, we will ensure that this generation will not only disrespect you, we will destroy you. I promise you. Because your efforts will kill us young. You don't know that. Yeah, a country that failed to plan, especially for our own young generations, right, is already planned to fail. That is as simple as that. So if you want to have a life and a future, it's not coming from these criminals. When you see them start gaslighting you or trying to bully you, nothing they can say to you. Those are the useless agbalagbas. There are very supportive elders too, who gives, encouraging advices to young people. Tell them, in fact, to them, they wish they were younger. Ask some of these older people that you see today who feels like, they feel sorry for us. Go and ask some of them. They will tell you, we really, really feel sorry for some of you young people. Honestly speaking, we're supposed to be apologizing to all of you. 50 years ago when I was a teenager, when they start the story and what they have been able to do, when they were our own age. Yesterday, I turned 40. I should be the former president of Nigeria if I was in the era of the criminals who destroyed Nigeria. If I came in their time, Gowon was just a 29-year-old young man when the coup that made him the president of Nigeria happened. Young people. Chief Obafemi Awolowo became the leader of the entire Western region at the age of 38. 38, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. But go and look at the people in their 20s, in their 30s. Richard Akinjide became a presidential advisor at the age of 23. And your guy, Patu Tommy, he became a presidential advisor at the age of 25. He was even younger, like his own generation is younger generation. These guys were kind of bold enough to lead countries, to lead battalions, to lead this or that. In their 20s, in their 30s. Go and look at Nigerians in their 20s and 30s today. Go and look at them. In their 40s as well. Some of them are still collecting pocket money from their parents because they are still being fed by their parents. Useless. Because that's what their policy did. In the last 63 years of Nigeria dependency that they call independence. So if anybody had lived long enough to the age of 60, 70, and they are doing trolling of young people on social media, don't ever get trolled. If anybody come and say, can you say that to your father? Say it. Type it in Yoruba. Go on Google and type it in English and tell Google to change it to English for you. These are empty scores. Useless people who grow old too. Sure, you understand? And they don't care if your life is destroyed, if your future is destroyed. If all of that can hand them or get them a house in Lekki, get them property in Lekki, and maybe just get them another one in Abuja, you and everyone around them can go to places. They are so loud and empty. Very loud and empty. How could you live that long and with all your experiences, you are looking at what these young people are going to face, what their future looks like, and you are not afraid for them. You want to bully us, call us names, threaten us. We will destroy you. We promise you that. Right? So, they've destroyed Nigeria beyond repair. Tinubu is not doing anything in France other than finalizing a deal that they said that has caused so much wahala for a long time. You've heard about Don Tete, Abiana Tete, of any oil, I think. Then the deal of a Shell, as well as, okay, I'll come back to that. Somebody was making an effort to explain the deal. Well, it wasn't explaining. It was just trying to kind of let people know that the explanation given for why Nigeria under Tinubu made a deal to give a $12 billion worth of crude oil as a collateral for a $3 billion loan. And if they don't pay that back, the future oil prospect in Nigeria, 164 million barrels of crude oil will be given to this lender. And then they said they want to use that to strengthen the Naira. I'll start with this.
Sambo, the answers provided does not make any rational sense to any honest, sincere investment banking executive or even a normal person that reasons rationally. What are we talking about here? Nigeria wanted to borrow $3 billion from our Exim to shore up our reserves to help protect the Naira from the downward spiral that has been going over the last 6 months. And then somebody is telling us that they are going to secure it with 167 million barrels of crude oil, valued at today's market price at $12 billion. Somebody need to make that make sense to me. Are the crude oil going to be given? Is it a collateral that will be returned back to Nigeria? Or are we exchanging $12 billion worth of crude oil in today's market value for $3 billion at 12% interest rate? It does not make sense. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is not one special purpose vehicle that was incorporated somewhere in Somalia or Yemen. 12% interest rate to a sovereign nation like Nigeria as interest rate. And of course, there are even hush-hush sounds that fees in excess of over $100 million were paid. That one had not been clarified. It does not make sense. Nigeria, as of today, has capacity to borrow $3 billion without the kind of convoluted structure that they put in place, just like what they did over this. The other day, they told us they wanted to structure $7 billion against dividend receivables of Nigerian shares in the Nigerian liquefied natural gas, which is okay. Borrowing against dividend payments, which simply means, of course, the LNG have been very profitable over time. And that is what we are also expected of the NNMPC. If the federal government of Nigeria, they are very sincere, they should divest at least 55% of their holdings from the NNPC, allow private sector investors, so the NNPC can become more transparently run without interference from the political circle, National Assembly, everybody inviting them to harass them. In such a way, we can also be talking about borrowing against NNPC dividends. But the truth of the matter is that it does not make sense. Borrowing, remember that our daily output now is about 1.3 million barrels. We're even projecting to increase to 1.78 million barrels a day. That simply means we've mortgaged over 35% of our annual crude oil output just to secure $3 billion loan. It does not make sense at 12%. In fact, that structure, whatever arrangement that they've made, does not make sense to any rational.
If we lend ourselves to innovation, we can create wonders. Yeah, it's a successful, again, a town hall, different from Bulaba.
That's Bulaba economy. I want to tell you a story. And I hope you will be able to understand my message from that story, because it is true story. Okay, you see what that man said about how could a country like Nigeria be put in that position because of $3 billion loan to those who are like normal human beings, who are not thieves. They can easily tell that the package was not put together for Nigeria. They just use Nigeria as a special purpose vehicle to take that money, so that Nigeria will be the one indebted to that, and the money goes straight to them. Starting from those who put the arrangement together. Tony Elumelu alone made over $100 million from that deal. Yeah. It's a deal that says, 12% interest rate, and then $12 billion dollars worth of crude oil is going to be the collateral. It's a deal that is not to help Nigeria, but they have to make you believe that Ababasho makes sense in it. They won't go borrow money to strengthen Naira. Does that even make any sense? How do you borrow money to strengthen Naira when you are not actually borrowing the money to put it in the economy? They just said they want to make sure that to back the Naira. And educated people, they read that and they were not alarmed and say, let me this one don't make any sense. This is fraud. That's exactly what is happening in France, as Kolu is using one stone to kill two birds. Somebody said he wants to invest $1 million on my platform. I know. You see? Sounds good, yeah? Okay. So if you want to invest $1 million on Mayogun's Diary Politico, you can speak to my lawyers. Because from tomorrow, officially, right, everything I do is going to now be like official Mayegun and all of that stuff going forward. So $1 million sounds good. Bring it on. And even though my people would tell me, be careful, Mayegun. Do you think somebody wants to give me $1 million? What have you? We'll continue to drop it like that in the comments. Somebody probably is wishing me getting $1 million a deal. $1 million deal for just doing what I do best, right? Sounds a little bit, interesting, doesn't it? Let's go to France, because this is already part of the deal now. Who you have as Tifnumbus, your druggy presidiot is a deal maker, is a drug lord. And wherever the deal is going to be made to the Tifnumbus empire, of course, they will now do what they did in Lagos that you have been hearing about. Some of them that are so unbelievable to you. Some of them sounded like they were just lies because they are just impossible. Now you are going to witness them in real life. And I pray that you live long enough to really get angry and mad at how they have fooled you. I'm talking to the Lagos Abobakus now. You have heard about Malabu deal. Malabu oil. Abina Malibu. Malabu is Malabu. Donetete. Babangida. Abacha. Now, from Abacha time, right, there is this controversial OPL oil block. It's like an oil block, okay? Like a place everybody drills for, oil block, borehole. You know that borehole. But that borehole is not for water. It's crude oil. Somewhere in Niger Delta. And it is called the OPL 245. It is right there in the offshore of Nigeria, which is on the Nigerian water. And it's like an ocean. It's the biggest of Nigeria's oil deposits. According to people, right? They said from the oil discovered in Nigeria over the years, so at different locations, all right? You see this particular one, OPL 245 is the richest. They believe it's the deepest with over 3 billion cubic liter or barrel. I don't know, like something 3 billion that is like huge. So it was a gift. Danetete, God bless you, Baba. So it was a gift that they were using to, they gift it to this one and give it to that one. Then in 1995, Abacha decided to gift it to those who brought Shell. But Dan Etete was a government official. It was never to own a share in any business and all of that stuff. But Abacha was like, no, go there and represent me there. And that was the beginning of any petrol, any petroleum, any oil or whatever, Shell and any. So the oil block became theirs. Well, the controversy around this was that those who lost it continued to kind of fight legal battle about it. Obasanjo came, cancelled everything, cancelled the license they gave to Shell and Eni and the rest of them, cancelled Dan Etete and the rest of them out of the whole thing, and handed over the OPL to NNPC to control. So nobody owns it. So what happened? Shell, Eni, and the rest of all those people who were like kicked out, they went to court all over the world. Case here, case there, and all of that. Jonathan came. And when Jonathan came, Jonathan removed the license from NNPC and gave it back to Shell, Eni, again. Then Bokwari came. Bokwari took it again from them. And this time around, they went back to legal, whatever this, case here and there, that is our own. It's not your own. It's our own. But when they now gave it, I don't know if they gave it back to NNPC or not, right? So they were still in court all this while. Now, from what we have now heard, just before the end of last year, sometimes in November 2023, Shell, Eni, Oando, Dan Etete's business associates, they reached a deal and they sold what is not there, so like it's no longer in their commando. They sold it to Ohando. They sold the oil block to Ohando. And guess the owner of Ohando, or the head of Ohando, Wale Tifnumbu, which is reported to be the nephew to Bola or Ebola Tifnumbu. Now that Ebola is your president, after the deal was done, they said that the man, Shaguri, Tifnumbu's confidant, who lives in France, said it was time for Mr. Tifnumbu to give the final seal and withdraw all of the federal government cases and other cases, everything against this and that, and approve the sale, which is exactly what they have done yesterday. So what that simply means is this. After almost 20 years or more than 20 years of the battle for the OPL 245, the deepest and the richest oil deposit in Nigeria, has finally come down to the Kolu's collection by using his own nephew, Wale Tifnumbu, as front. Ohando will now be the owner of OPL 245. Chai, Obasanjo go get attack. Obasanjo supposed get attack and just die peacefully now and say, Omo, before Nigeria will break up, it will be over my dead body, because by the time Tifnumbu is done, even the Azikiwe airport in Abuja will likely become Remi Werekwe, local and international airports. And you'll be wondering, this was built, as they've sold it to Remi Werekwe, because Nigeria can no longer handle it. Ask the Lagosians how much of their money was used to build BRT. Ask them today, who is the owner of BRT? Not Lagos. Primero, that paid no shishi. Shengbang. They are the owners of the BRT in Lagos. And when you go around it, it is part of the collection of Tifnumbu. Emma learn a lesson. Tell them, àsìkò tí gbogbo yín máa rù lẹ́wà yìí.
Àsìkò tí gbogbo yín ó rù láwà yìí. Àsìkò tí gbogbo yín ó rù láwà yìí. Àsìkò tí gbogbo yín ó rù láwà yìí.
Inshallah, I will be there. Now all of us go cry. Shey you get? And our cry go be like, it go dey different. Some of you go cry lako. I want crying to help other people will be like, you know that kind of cry that will stop other people from crying. Like that. No, not like that. Worse than that. And somebody like me that is like, oh my God, this country. Oh my God, this country. And then somebody is like, yeah, Boko, yeah, you just be like, Baba, when I say your own problem pass my own problem, I go stop crying. Man, listen to your own cry. Bugbualama cry, dear. You know, you have seen what is happening to Naira, Abi. This man also sort of took a test and took a shot on that and said, listen, this is why your Naira is being destroyed. Another view.
By the presidency trying to clarify the specific issues of the SPV that was set up for this agreement. I don't know what's your own thinking about some of the answers provided to the questions raised by the main opposition leader.
Sambo, the answers provided does not make any rational sense to any honest, sincere investment banking executive or even a normal person that reasons rationally. What are we talking about here? Nigeria wanted to borrow $3 billion from Afro-Exim to shore up our reserves to help protect the Naira from the downward spiral that has been going over the last 6 months. And then somebody is telling us that they are going to secure it with 167 million barrels of crude oil, valued at today's market price at $12 billion. Somebody need to make that make sense to me. Are the crude oil going to be given is it a collateral that will be returned back to Nigeria? Or are we exchanging $12 billion worth of crude oil in today's market value for $3 billion at 12% interest rate? It does not make sense. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is not one special purpose vehicle that was incorporated somewhere in Somalia or Yemen. 12% interest rate to a sovereign nation like Nigeria as interest rate. And of course, there are even hush-hush sounds that fees in excess of over $100 million were paid. That one had not been clarified. It does not make sense. Nigeria, as of today, has capacity to borrow $3 billion without the kind of convoluted structure that they put in place, just like what they did over this. The other day, they told us they wanted to structure $7 billion against dividend receivables of Nigerian shares in the Nigerian liquefied natural gas, which is okay. Borrowing against dividend payments, which simply means, of course, the LNG have been very profitable over time. And that is what we are also expected of the NNMPC. If the federal government of Nigeria, they are very sincere, they should divest at least 55% of their holdings from the NNPC, allow private sector investors, so the NNPC can become more transparent without interference from the political circle, National Assembly, everybody inviting them to harass them. In such a way, we can also be talking about borrowing against NNPC dividends. But the truth of the matter is that it does not make sense. Borrowing, remember that our daily output now is about 1.3 million barrels. We're even projecting to increase to 1.78 million barrels a day. That simply means we've mortgaged over 35% of our annual crude oil output just to secure $3 billion loan. It does not make sense at 12%. In fact, that structure, whatever arrangement that they've made, does not make sense to any rational reasoning in Nigeria. It does not make sense.
To make of the $65 per barrel used to calculate the allocated 90,000 barrels of oil per day, which will be used daily until we're able to get the total that have been calculated. Is that very reasonable, or do you think it should have been higher than that to reflect the current prices?
See, let me tell you, it is very unreasonable. What has been the average price of the crude oil daily prices over the last 1 year? Let us do some trend analysis simulation. And what is the projection going into the next 2, 3, 5 years, depending on the tenor of the arrangement? Come on. Nigeria is not that broke that if we want to raise $10 billion into this economy at single-digit interest rate, that we cannot do it. We can't continue this way as a country. Look at it. From May 29, 2023, the Naira has lost from 765 Naira to $1 when it was devalued. Today, it closed at 1,550 Naira to $1 in the parallel market. And there is something dangerous that we're seeing here. There's no liquidity in the market, dollar liquidity. And let me explain to you what is happening here. A serious country, a serious nation, a serious government, what will have simply done? We've been on this thing over the last 7 months. Simple things that will have been done. Why are we having so much pressure on the dollar? Simply means that this demand for the dollar far outweighs the supply. And what is driving this demand? We have outstanding obligations within the banking system. Outstanding LC obligations that are even ranking over the last 3 years of almost about $8 billion. Even the airways have over, international airlines have over $570 million out there. A serious government will have simply done an inquest. Okay, bank-wide, what do we have? We have in the portfolio $8.5 billion that have to be liquidated. These are lawful, fully transacted obligations that are being owed by entrepreneurs in Nigeria through the banking system. How do we raise money to wipe this out? When you clear these obligations, you set the ground floor parallel, the same level, and people begin to plan their purchases, their manufacturing, their raw material purchases on an even keel. Today, we have 3 issues now pursuing the dollar. We have the speculative demand.
There are so many other things he mentioned, but our time is sort of running out gradually. And I still have like 2 or 3 stuffs to share with us tonight. Well, he made a very, very cogent, very important point there when he said Nigeria, apart from the Nigeria's debt, all right, he as an economist believes that Nigeria is not that broke that Nigeria could not raise even $10 billion at a single digit interest. That is not going to be a shock kill, like Nigeria, it's not really that, that bad. But however, if you have 8 billion, over 8 billion outstanding payment for the services that have been rendered within the banking system, that is trapped within the banking system, if you're going to look for any money at all to save yourself, to build the trust of the investors, that's what you are going to do first. Even if you have to borrow money for it, Abi, then you clear that. That can give all the investors that confidence. Well, the last 3 years